All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison tear it up at the box office. Averages excellent numbers. Well, very, very good numbers. Let's talk about that, how it compares to Terrence Crawford's numbers last week, what I think it means for the PBC in boxing, and the 154-pound division moving forward in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. Hey, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release our videos, which we do several times throughout the day. We also do our live streams in the morning around 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we OG Boxing Talk for our weekend wrap-up show, 8 a.m. Sundays with myself, Blood Boxing, KQKC Boxing, Trap House Boxing, and Kurt Anderson, the boxing historian. Also, thank you so much to the support from the Patreon community. The members, you can join the channel by hitting the membership button down there and picking a level. Let's talk about this. Man, excellent fight by Jermell Charlo, who I have to say, man, is probably the one of the more hard to like fighters in boxing, because he definitely has like the little brother runt of the litter syndrome, man. He's extremely aggressive personality, man. He always seems like he's ready to fight. But I think this guy is one of the most underrated fighters in boxing. He can box, he can brawl. His mentality is that he's extremely aggressive, and he's a smart fighter. He overcame a very difficult style of fighter in Tony Harrison for him, and wound up getting a knockout stoppage, gets his belt back, his WBC 154-pound belt back, and in doing so, really gave the fight fans pretty much everything you wanted to see, and it reflected, I do believe, in the numbers that he did, that the fight did on Fox. On this channel, we like to talk about the numbers every once in a while. It is what it is. There's a lot of people that say, hey, I don't want to talk about the numbers. I don't want to talk about the business of boxing. Just talk about boxing. But hey, man, these kind of subjects always come up in conversations. So when people are trying to deflect from one fighter fighting another, so I make sure that I do these videos because I want to give you my perspective and document what the numbers are as far as what is available in public. Now, since this is not a pay-per-view fight, the numbers are more readily available because you can get them through Nielsen ratings. So the fight for Jermell Charlo, Tony Harrison, for the hour that they fought, that was the average for the hour that they fought between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock was 1.6 million people watched during that time frame. The hour before their fight, because for the Nielsen ratings, for some reason, in the reports that I got, they broke it up between the first hour and the second hour. The first hour, which was obviously before Jermell Charlo fought, this was for the Balderramas fight and the Ife Agagbe fight. Those numbers were like around 1.1 million. And so when the main event came on, there were many more people watching. An additional 50% came to watch the Tony Harrison Jermell Charlo. So it did about 1.6 million for that hour. I think if you average the two for the hour, it comes around 1.3, something like that for the entire show. Now, that is pretty much on par with what Terrence Crawford did on ESPN when he fought Egis Kalvanakis. Now, for the amount of pressure, also for television, the report was that their metered rating, and I am not even going to try to attempt to explain metered ratings. It was I think it's like a market share or something like that. Regardless, the numbers typically sound like 1.2, 1.5, 2.5, whatever. Their market share for that, their metered rating for the fight was a 1.3, which ties tied Porter versus Ugas as the second highest metered rating this year. Okay, so Very solid numbers for Jermell Charlo in this fight, on par with what Terrence Crawford did. Now, for me, considering that Terrence Crawford is a long reigning champion, he is considered to be one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. And Jermell Charlo has not reached that status to have his numbers be equivalent, basically the equivalent of a Terrence Crawford. Tells you two things. One, ESPN is not really promoting Terrence Crawford like that. And as a result, his numbers have dropped from the last time he was on ESPN, from views over 2 million down to I think he peaked at 1.6. Now for this particular fight, the 1.6 peak was, I do believe, during the time of Terrence Crawford's fight. So during Terrence Crawford fight, the highest was at a 1.6 million. The average for Charlo and God dog, man, forgive me. Between Charlo and man, I don't want to have to edit this, man. I'm having an old man moment. Between Charlo and Tony Harrison it averaged 1.6. Consequently, you know, the peak was definitely higher than the average, but I'm not going to estimate it. It might have been a peak of 1.8, something like that. But regardless, it shows you that one or two things are happening. Jermell Charlo is going up, Terrence Crawford's going down. I don't know, but they're roughly the same thing. If ESPN considered that a success for Terrence Crawford, you gotta consider this a success for Jermell Charlo. But honestly, man, what it means for me and Fox is, because Fox consistently getting these ratings, and I know that it's more available. Fox is slightly more available to the U.S. Audience than ESPN is, because Fox is just, it's not a cable network, so you don't have to actually buy a cable package to get it, right? But at the same time, most people that are watching boxing or fans of boxing have both. They have both Fox, they have both ESPN. ESPN has over 8 million, well over 40, 50 million subscribers that watch ESPN on a regular, that watch ESPN. Tens of millions of people watch ESPN, tens of millions watch Fox, so as far as the number of boxing fans that they're drawing about the same number of fans that have those channels into their audience. I think the difference between the ratings is this, though. The difference between the ratings on ESPN and Fox is because Fox is actively promoting the fights with American fighters, and ESPN is not. And to me, it looks like this. You have a guy, and it doesn't necessarily have too much. It has something to do with the fighters, obviously, but just think about this. When Terrence Crawford fought Egis Kalvanakis, Terrence Crawford comes from Omaha, Nebraska, right? So you have Omaha, Nebraska there. You have Kansas City in that general area, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Kansas is kind of small. You got Iowa. You do have a good amount. You have the state of Nebraska, okay, that can come in from an area, a geographic area in the United States, and support their person that is from that area, right? And then you have Egis Kalvanakis, who's from Lithuania. How many people that are Lithuanian are in the United States going to be watching Egis Kalvanakis, right? Then you look at Terrence Crawford. So then you look at Tony Harrison and Jermell Charlo. How many people do you think can watch him from Tony Harrison, who's from the state of Michigan, who's from Detroit, a major metropolitan area in the United States? And then you got Jermell Charlo from Houston, okay? And Houston is right between New Orleans and Dallas, Texas, and Austin, Texas, and San Antonio, Texas, and Detroit is near Lansing, Michigan, and it's not too far from Chicago, Illinois. It is two American fighters from American cities where fans, American fans, are familiar with them and heard of them in at least those two regions. The likelihood that you have more people who are going to be fans and recognize those fighters increase when you promote American fighters. And ESPN or Top Rank, and the same thing with HBO, and I think this is one of the major reasons that HBO went away, is they went away from promoting and advertising American fighters. When you have your main impotence, your main push be to sell fighters who do not have a native support group, you are asking for trouble. That is why some of the numbers the Hispanic community, the Mexican community, the fighters do very well, because it's simple. There's a lot of Mexicans in the United States of America. One of the things that Bob Arum, is one of his more famous quote, was that he was trying to sell Julio Cesar Chavez. I think he was talking about Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. He's like, yeah, it couldn't have been him. He was selling somebody else. Maybe it was Oscar De La Hoya, but it was a Mexican fighter. And he said, look, our pay-per-views were doing great until we got to the Mississippi River and we ran out of Mexicans, right? That was his idea. That was him telling you that he was being successful selling fights in areas where there was a connection to the fighter, right? As you move further out east, you have a different but there is no area in the country where you have a lot of native Lithuanians, a lot of native Ukrainians. Well, I guess in Chicago, you have a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of Polish, right? So you'll have like a Thomas Adamus being able to go and basically be the big draw to a fight in the city of Chicago, because there's such a big Polish population out there. But to me, this again is showing you why Fox is being more successful. And we a lot of times try to break it down into racial issues like black fighters or white fighters, and in large part, it has to do with the fact that these guys are just plain and simply supporting Americans. But we get these funny ideas when we're talking amongst American fight fans about what American means. But that's coded speak. And we'll put that to the test when Caleb Plant fights in Nashville for the first time. I don't know if he's fought there before, but he's going to be defending his 168-pound belt in Nashville, and we'll see how that turns out. Because that is a Nashville boy. He is not black. That is a white country boy from Nashville, Tennessee, and we'll see how they step out to support their local champion. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.